Tell me about a time you had to learn a new technology quickly. Introduction. This is a common behavioral interview question for software developers. Interviewers ask this question to understand how fast you can learn, how you handle unfamiliar tools, how you become productive quickly, how you use documentation and tutorials, how you ask for help, how you apply learning to real work, how you deliver under time pressure. This question is especially important for junior software developers, Java developers, backend developers, full-stack developers, senior software developers, cloud developers, QA automation engineers, team leads. The best way to answer this question is by using the STAR method. STAR means S. Situation. Explain the background. T. Task. Explain your responsibility. A. Action. Explain what you personally did. R. Result. Explain the final outcome. A good interview answer usually spends 10% situation, 10% task, 60% action, 20% result. The most important part is the action section, because interviewers want to know how you learned and applied the new technology. Question. Tell me about a time you had to learn a new technology quickly. Example 1. Learning Spring Boot quickly situation. During one project, our team needed to build REST APIs using Spring Boot. At that time, most of my experience was with core Java, and I had not worked with Spring Boot in a production environment before. Task. I was responsible for developing 2 API endpoints that were required for an upcoming sprint demo. I needed to learn Spring Boot quickly and become productive without delaying the team. Action. I created a structured learning plan. First, I reviewed Spring Boot documentation and completed beginner-friendly tutorials to understand the main concepts. Then I built a small sample project to practice. Click dependency injection. Click REST controllers, service layer, repository layer, request and response DTOs, validation, exception handling. After that, I reviewed existing code in our project to understand team standards. I also scheduled short knowledge-sharing sessions with a senior developer and asked focused questions when I was blocked. During implementation, I requested code reviews early so I could correct mistakes quickly. I documented common issues and solutions so I could refer to them later. Result. I delivered both API endpoints before the sprint deadline. The APIs passed testing with minimal changes. The experience helped me contribute to future Spring Boot tasks with more confidence and less supervision. Why this answer works? This answer is strong because it shows quick learning, hands-on practice, using documentation, asking focused questions, code review mindset, delivery under deadline. Example 2. Learning Kafka for event-driven development situation. In one project, our team started moving part of the application from synchronous API calls to event-driven communication using Kafka. I had experience with REST APIs, but I was new to Kafka in a real production-style system. Task. I was responsible for building a Kafka consumer that processed customer update events and triggered downstream business logic. Action. I started by learning the core Kafka concepts first. I focused on COT, topics, partitions, producers, consumers, consumer groups, offsets, retries, dead letter queues. Then, I reviewed existing Kafka services in our organization to understand the standard implementation pattern. I built a small local proof of concept to produce and consume sample messages. After that, I implemented the actual consumer in the project. I paid special attention to reliability topics such as check message validation, check duplicate message handling, check retriable errors, check non-retriable errors, check dead letter queue handling, check logging and monitoring. I also worked with QA to test normal messages, invalid messages, retries, and failure scenarios. Result. The Kafka consumer was delivered successfully. It handled valid messages correctly and moved invalid messages to the dead letter queue without blocking the main flow. The experience helped me understand event-driven architecture and later contribute to other Kafka-based services. Why this answer works. This answer is strong for backend interviews because it shows CAC, Learning Distributed Systems, Kafka Fundamentals, CAC, Proof of Concept, CAC, Reliability Thinking, CAC, Failure Handling, CAC, Production Readiness. Example 3. Learning a cloud platform quickly. Situation. My team was assigned a migration project where part of the application had to be deployed to a cloud platform. Some of the team members, including me, had limited hands-on experience with that specific cloud environment. Task. I was responsible for understanding the deployment process, configuring one service, and helping validate the application in the cloud environment. Action. I started by learning the basics of the cloud platform from internal documentation and official guides. I focused on the areas directly related to my task. Click Service Deployment. Click Environment Variables. Click Secrets. Click Networking. Click Logs, Monitoring, Health Checks, Scaling Configuration. Instead of trying to learn everything at once, I focused on what was needed for the migration. I also reviewed existing deployed services to understand naming conventions and configuration patterns. Then, I created a checklist for my service deployment. The checklist included: check required configuration, check database connectivity, API endpoint verification, check logging validation, check health check validation. I tested the service in a lower environment before promoting it further. Result: the service was successfully deployed to the cloud environment. The migration testing was completed with minimal issues. The checklist I created was later reused by other team members for similar service deployments. Why this answer works? This answer is good because it shows CC, focus learning, cloud readiness, deployment understanding, checklist creation, team contribution, practical delivery. Example 4. Learning React quickly for a full-stack task situation. In one project, our front-end team had limited capacity, but a small UI change was needed for a sprint release. I was mainly working as a back-end developer, but the task required changes in React. Task. I was responsible for learning enough React to update the page, connect it with the back-end API, and complete the feature without waiting for another developer. Action. I started by reviewing the existing React components in the application. I focused on understanding component structure, props, state management, API calls, form handling, validation messages, loading and error states. Then, I completed a short React tutorial to understand the basics. Instead of building the feature from scratch, I followed the existing pattern in the project. I updated the component, connected it to the backend API, and handled success and error responses. I also tested CUC, normal save flow, validation error, API failure, loading state, page refresh after save. Before merging, I asked a front-end developer to review the change and suggest improvements. Result: the UI change was completed within the sprint. The feature worked correctly with the backend API. The experience helped me become more comfortable contributing to small front-end tasks in future full-stack work. Why this answer works? This answer is strong for full-stack interviews because it shows flexibility, quick learning, using existing patterns, front-end back-end integration, code review, delivery mindset. Example 5. Learning an automation testing tool quickly. Situation. In one project, we needed to improve regression testing because manual testing was taking too much time before every release. The team decided to introduce an automation testing tool, but I had limited experience with that specific tool. Task. I was responsible for creating the first set of automated tests for a critical user flow. Action. I started by learning the basics of the testing framework through documentation, tutorials, and sample projects. I focused only on the features needed for the first automation task. I learned how to set up the test project, locate elements, write assertions, handle test data, run tests locally, generate test reports, debug failed tests. Then, I selected one high-value user flow that was tested manually in every release. I automated that flow step by step, and made the test readable and maintainable. I also added comments and documentation so other team members could follow the same pattern. After that, I shared the first test with the team and collected feedback. Result: the first automated test suite was completed successfully. It reduced repeated manual testing effort for that user flow. The structure became a starting point for adding more automated tests in future sprints. Why this answer works? This answer is good because it shows: check. Learning by doing. Check. Automation mindset. Check. Reducing manual effort. Check. Documentation. Check. Team enablement. Check. Quality improvement. Example 6. Learning Spring security quickly. In one application, we needed to secure new REST APIs using Spring Security. I had experience building APIs, but I had limited hands-on experience configuring Spring security rules in that project. Task: I was responsible for securing the new endpoints while making sure existing public and authenticated APIs continued to work correctly. Action: I started by reviewing the existing security configuration in the application. Then I studied the Spring security concepts needed for the task, including authentication, authorization, security filter chain, JWT validation, public endpoints, role-based access, unauthorized responses, forbidden responses. I created a small local test setup to understand how different endpoint roles behaved. After that, I updated the actual security configuration carefully. I tested multiple scenarios: public endpoint access, authenticated endpoint access, role-based access, invalid token, expired token, missing token, unauthorized user. I also added automated tests for the main security rules to prevent future regressions. Result: the new APIs were secured successfully. Existing APIs continued to work as expected. The automated tests improved confidence for future security-related changes. Why this answer works? This answer is strong because it shows, security learning, careful implementation, risk awareness, testing different access scenarios, regression prevention. Example 7. Learning monitoring tool quickly situation. Our team started using a new monitoring tool to investigate production performance issues. I had used logs before, but I was new to that specific monitoring platform. Task: I was responsible for using the tool to investigate a slow API and identify where the bottleneck was happening. Action: I started by learning the basics of the monitoring tool. I focused on service dashboards, API latency, error rate, traces, database call timing, dependency calls, alerts, log correlation. Then I selected the slow API and analyzed its request trace. I compared fast requests and slow requests. I noticed that slow requests spent most of their time waiting for a database query. I used the tool to identify which query was causing the delay. Then, I reviewed the database execution plan and worked with the team to optimize the query. I also created a simple dashboard to monitor the API after the fix. Result: we identified the performance bottleneck faster. The API response time improved after query optimization. The dashboard helped the team monitor the API more effectively in future releases. Why this answer works? This answer is good because it shows: check. Learning a tool quickly. Check. Monitoring skills. Trace analysis. Performance investigation. Check. Dashboard creation. Check. Production support mindset. Example 8. Learning a new library for PDF generation situation. In one project, the business needed a feature to generate PDF reports from backend data. Our team had not used a PDF generation library in that application before. I was responsible for researching a suitable library and implementing the first version of the PDF report feature. Action: I started by comparing different PDF generation libraries based on project needs. I considered Kaggle ease of integration, Kaggle licensing, Kaggle table support, Kaggle formatting support, Kaggle image support, Kaggle performance, Kaggle maintainability. After selecting a suitable option, I created a small proof of concept to generate a sample PDF. This helped me understand how to structure the report. Then I implemented the actual feature using a clean, layered approach. Cook, data retrieval. Cook, data mapping. Cook, PDF template creation. Cook, PDF generation. Cook, error handling. Cook, API response. I reviewed the implementation with the team before finalizing it. I also added tests for the data mapping logic and manually verified the generated PDF output. Result: the PDF report feature was delivered successfully. The proof of concept helped reduce technical uncertainty. The structure became the foundation for future PDF reports in the application. Why this answer works? This answer is strong because it shows at researchability, at technical comparison, proof of concept, at quick learning, at clean implementation, at reusable design. Best short answer version. If you need a short interview answer, you can say, in one project, our team needed to build REST APIs using Spring Boot, but most of my previous experience was with core Java. I was responsible for developing 2 endpoints required for an upcoming sprint demo, so I had to learn Spring Boot quickly. I created a structured learning plan. I reviewed documentation, completed tutorials, and built a small sample project to understand controllers, services, repositories, dependency injection, validation, and exception handling. Then, I reviewed existing project code to follow team standards. I also asked focused questions to a senior developer and requested early code reviews. As a result, I delivered both API endpoints before the sprint deadline. The APIs passed testing with minimal changes, and the experience helped me contribute to future Spring Boot work with more confidence. Common mistakes to avoid. 1. Saying only, I learned it quickly. Bad answer. I learned Spring Boot quickly and completed the task. Better answer. Explain how you learned it, what resources you used, how you practiced, and how you applied it. 2. Not showing business impact. Bad answer. I watched tutorials and learned Kafka. Better answer. I learned Kafka basics, built a proof of concept, implemented the consumer, and delivered the feature on time. 3. Learning too broadly. Bad answer. I tried to learn everything about the cloud platform. Better answer. I focused on the parts needed for my task, such as deployment, configuration, logs, health checks, and monitoring. 4. Not asking for help. Bad answer. I did not ask anyone anything. Better answer. I worked independently, but asked focused questions when I needed clarification. 5. No result. Bad answer. I became familiar with the technology. Better answer. I delivered the API before the sprint deadline, and the code passed testing with minimal changes. Best practices for answering this question. Use the STAR method. Choose a real technology you learned. Explain why you had to learn it quickly. Mention your learning plan. Show hands-on practice. Use documentation and existing code. Ask focused questions. Apply the learning to delivery. Mention code review or validation. End with business impact or team impact. What interviewers are looking for. Interviewers want to see whether you can. Check. Learn independently. Check. Become productive quickly. Check. Use documentation effectively. Check. Ask smart questions. Avoid being blocked. Check. Apply concepts in real work. Check. Deliver under time pressure. Check. Continue improving after the first task. For junior roles, they want to see curiosity, learning ability, willingness to ask for help, hands-on practice. For senior roles, they want to see focused learning, technical judgment, proof of concept, risk reduction, helping the team adopt new technology. Strong words to use in your answer. You can use words like learned, researched, practiced, explored, compared, implemented, validated, documented, reviewed, applied, delivered, improved. Example. I researched the technology, built a small proof of concept, reviewed existing patterns, implemented the feature, validated it with test cases, and documented the approach for the team. Good technology examples you can use. Depending on your experience, you can talk about Spring Boot, Kafka, Kafka React, Angular, Spring Security, Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, CI/CD, Redis, Elasticsearch, GraphQL, JUnit, Mockito, Playwright, Selenium, monitoring tools, PDF generation libraries, cloud deployment tools. Final summary. Tell me about a time you had to learn a new technology quickly. The best answer should include what technology you had to learn, why you had to learn it quickly, what your responsibility was, how you learned it, how you practiced, how you applied it, how you validated your work, what result you achieved. Good examples include Caution, learning Spring Boot quickly, learning Kafka for event-driven development, learning a cloud platform, learning React for a full-stack task, learning automation testing, learning Spring Security, learning monitoring tools, learning a PDF generation library. The strongest answers show learning ability, ownership, practical application, and delivery impact.